not sure if I mentioned this before. Kenneth is coming down. He's the founder of the Baltimore International Black Film Festival. This is their showing independent films, and all these films have been shown previously at previous film festivals. I'm going to give it over to Kenneth.
Thank you. Give it up for yourselves. Great audience tonight. So yes, thank you. So as Siri said, I'm Kenneth Moore. I'm the founder and director of the Baltimore International Black Film Festival. So those were just some of the films that we showed over the first 9 seasons or years of the festival. This October will be our 10th installation of the festival, October 6th through the 9th. So definitely come to me if you have any information about when, where. You can go Be More Film Fest anywhere on social media to find more about the festival. We'll put information up as we get closer to the festival. But just wanted to get your reactions, thoughts, impressions. So there was a little bit of a theme there. Of course, you saw parental acceptance, and, you know, just coming to society. You had the bookends of the first film, Ladies' Day, and the jump off, where you have kind of, you know, how is society viewing us, and how do we navigate in those spaces, you know, kind of tailoring how we act and how we behave vis-a-vis how society may respond to us. So we want to put a program together to kind of touch on some of those themes, invite some thoughts, some questions, some reactions. So I'm just open to anything that you might want to share at this time. Yes.
So the whole time I was watching all the videos, my main thought was that I wish that my father was in the audience, and so I'm wondering if there have been any screenings that were like particularly marketed to parents and families of queer kids, or just something that was like a concerted effort specifically for parents.
Yeah, that's
a lot of parents need to see.
Yes, great question. We have not, and this collection has never been seen before, because again, these were from 2017 to 2022. These were films that were not in the same year. So this collection was specifically curated for tonight's event. But to your point, we definitely have tried to have it not necessarily say, okay, here are our gay films tonight, or here. The way we designed the festival, it is a festival that deals with the theme of the festival for the last 9 years has been real unity, REL, unity, using the power of cinema to bring us together. So what we'll do is we'll marry films together. So that film, The Jump Off, for example, may have been partnered with a feature film that could have been something about rock climbing in the diaspora. So someone comes to the festival for one particular film, but which may be their feature film. They may come for the short, but they're gonna get that kind of experience of just being exposed to different ways of being, thinking, and existing. So that's kind of the way that we kind of try to use the festival as a means to kind of invite that kind of interaction and exposure to multiple audiences. Yes.
Yeah. First, I want to give a mad shout out of love to the Reginald F Museum and this incredible dynamic woman, Terry Taylor, who approached me about this project. In my journey of work using theater, performing arts, and filmmaking, and I want to share with you the first clip that they were kind enough to include was a film I did with my students. And in the audience is that young man in my journey over 4 years of high school, where I saw him come into his true self, and by his senior year, I was able to co-write with his family, whose mother is here, who played his actual mother. That's what's up. And him coming into himself. And we finished the film a month before the global pandemic, and it had a prominent screening. And you are the third live audience to see that clip of the entire 15-minute film. Wow. But I just want to say, and I want to get my ally language correct. If I stumble, please forgive me. To be a cisgendered, heterosexual, middle-aged African-American man I've been able to grow with the love of my students, who taught me the importance of a pronoun, who taught me the importance that love is love, and the same pain that I go through with my wife, and the same stories they share, that caused me to use my skills of filmmaking and theater to tell their stories. These are their stories, and they performed them, but it took years of developing trust for them to feel comfortable enough with me to share their stories. I thank you for allowing me into your space to share your truth and your stories. And I would just hope, you talk about parents, I designed the film, particularly for African Black parents, to embrace their children. I see their pain in school of struggling, loving their mother and their father, but they're not accepting the truth of who they are. It brings me to tears at times, what they go through, just to hear their parents say, I don't care, I love you. And this is what film can do. So I'm going to step back, not take up too much space, because this is a moment for you all who live this every day to share. But I want you to know that if I can do it as a 60-year-old straight Black man,
That's what's up,
his mama
That's what's up.
can embrace her child and then take the truth and made it permanent in film, that you can accept and love and embrace your child. So could you give those two people a hand up?
Anyone else hand that I might have missed? Sure.
I don't want to take up too much space. I'm already hearing out from everything you said. But I just want to say that as a queer person who feels super alone on a daily basis, being here today is just giving me so much energy to just keep pushing. So thank you.
Love that. Yes, please.
Yeah, all of the films are just really moving, and especially My Daughter Tyler.
Yes.
That one, I was just so, truly had me crying also, but like the way that it seemed like her mom's concern was about how the world would perceive Tyler, right? And like that a lot of the times our parents' misguided concern is about like protecting us in our queerness, our transness, and yeah, so just wrestling with that,
Yes.
like that issue, and yeah, just really moving. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. And as I looked at the films, I definitely saw somewhat of a continuum. If you saw Code Switch, for example, their parent they were going through the pains of kind of unpacking and kind of coming out of themselves, meditating with marijuana and just I have to take this call and having to get in the right headspace to deal with their parent. And then you have Tyler's parent coming around through intentionality, learning. And also I think that we gotta give grace to parents and give them the space to kind of get there. Because there is a process. And then I think about in pronouns, their parent going from seeing his buddies taunt his child to seeing him on stage, seeing his child on stage, and then wrestling with that. I don't know what to call you. I don't know who you are. You had a lot to say on stage. What do you have to say now? And it's just like, but that parent was there, was engaged in wrestling with it. So again, I know there's pain, of course, through the process, but hopefully through that pain, the parents will get there and really begin to see their children and value and affirm them in their complete selves. But again, this has been incredible. Thank you all again, and we have more program tonight. So let's listen for Terry, who will take us on to the next phase of the program.
Okay, so now we have part two. We will be having some literary presentation readings by Candice Iloh as well as Dr. Tony Keith Jr. We're going to start off with Candice, and before Candice comes up and does readings from Salt the Water, I'm going to just give a little bit of bio of them. Candice Iloh is a first-generation Nigerian-American writer, dancer, and author of the 2020 National Book Award finalist and 2021 Prince honoree, Everybody Looking. They have performed their work around the country, most notably at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe in New York City, the Women in Poetry and Hip Hop Celebration at Reginald F in Baltimore, and is a part of the African in Motion Performing Arts Series at the National Museum of African Art in Washington, D.C. So let's give it up for Candice.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Very happy to be here. I haven't been in Baltimore in a really long time, and I used to live in DC for like 8.5 years. So listening and watching those films was really interesting to hear the you. I don't know how to say it like somebody from Baltimore, but it's very specific, and like it made me feel like I was at home again. So this has been really special. And I don't think that I anticipated to have so many feelings on the side while watching the films. To be transparent, so this year I turned 36. I came out to my dad about 13 years ago. My dad is still quite homophobic. I'm sure like a number of people in this room have had a number of experiences due to parents being really religious or being immigrant parents who just really are concerned about safety and concerned about their kids not having a fair shot at the American dream for various reasons. My dad is all of the above, and I don't know. I felt like I wanted to share that because I wanted to encourage you if you are a young person who is still kind of like trying to navigate that relationship with your parent and you still live with them. I just want to encourage you to just continue finding community and finding ways to get the support and love and acceptance that you need while your parent is figuring it out. They may figure it out, they may not figure it out. I'm starting to feel like my dad might not figure it out, but I'm very encouraged by art and films that have these kind of subject matters, because hopefully maybe my dad will stumble upon this film, one of these films, an event like this, and be open to what he hears. So just big shout out to the parents in the room who have opened their hearts even a little bit. Because I can speak from like an adult perspective that it really takes a toll if that doesn't happen when you're young. And so I am an author today, and I'm an author largely because of the fact that there was a lot that I couldn't talk about, that I couldn't say in my house when I was a teenager. There wasn't a lot of language for what was happening in my body and my heart and my mind as a young person. And so it is becoming very apparent in my work that I'm trying to say all the things that I couldn't say before. And so the novel that I'm going to be reading from tonight isn't out yet, so you guys are getting a special reading. It's called Salt the Water. It comes out October 3rd. And it is about a gender fluid teen named Cerulean who has wonderful parents, very accepting, very loving, very supportive. But Cerulean has big problems with authority when they go to school, the world, and everything outside of the home is what's the problem is. And Cerulean and their friends have this big dream of living off the grid when they graduate from high school. but they know nothing about that. Like the average teenager in 2023 probably knows nothing about that. So I wanted to explore this idea of like, what do Black queer kids do or create when they're entering a world that just seems like a whole bunch of chaos, so much misunderstanding, just a dumpster fire. Like what are young people going to do with what we have left them is the main question that I'm asking. So I wanted to read this scene that I really, really love, where Cerulean just got into an altercation with their most hated teacher, and they dropped out of high school just kind of at the drop of the dime. It was like a decision that they were trying to avoid. And this is a scene after they made that decision where they are talking to their dad about this altercation. And also, Salt the Water is a novel in verse. If you're not familiar with what that means it's a novel, but it looks like a collection of poems. So there are significantly less words. There's a lot more play with the language, and I write these in particular for young people who claim they don't like to read. I was one of those people in high school because I was not messing with these books that were being given to us. So yeah, I'm gonna stop talking and read this scene. And this is the first time I've read this scene in front of an audience.
All right now.
Baba didn't go to college. According to Grandma, he almost didn't make it out of high school either. Your daddy was a free bird. Didn't like nobody measuring his wings. I've seen the pictures of him at my age when he called himself fly. Muscled arms draped over the shoulders of girls happy to be near him. Setting up shop at all the block parties where he said he charged $5 a plate for food his neighborhood wasn't used to. Before that, he hustled candy on the subway just like kids still do, selling everything to raise money to buy his own ingredients. Culinary school is too expensive for a Bronx boy with folks working graveyard shifts for pennies, but my father was after a slice of the chef life. One way or another, I have to show Baba I'm just like him, a dreamer, unable to accept life the way it is, to take no for an answer at every corner, to settle for this normal trajectory where we just take the disrespect, dismissal, and mistreatment for being human beings from a place people weren't used to seeing success stories that aligned with their narratives and expectations. One way or another, I have to show Baba why I can't go back to that place where haphazard teachers can just determine you fail because you diverge from their rules. He has to understand that I was just being myself, that I was just taking care of myself, that I was just standing up for myself, that I was just speaking up for myself, and that means I had no other choice. No matter what promise or pact I made with anyone else, no matter how selfish it may have seemed, Baba is waiting for me to explain my choice to be home today, already knowing that me being late means I'm not going at all. He leans farther onto the counter in the way he always does, to show us that he's listening to whatever we have to say. The hollow toast in our bellies now and there is nothing between us but a mostly empty plate of small crumbs, deep breaths, heavy silence. I was thinking about that story you told me a couple of years ago. I started calculating my words. The one about how you became a chef for real, the hoops you had to jump through and all that. He stares at me wondering where I'm going with this, what it has to do with right now. His lifted eyebrow tells me to go on. And last night I had a dream about what I want. In the dream I was in an open field surrounded by all these flowers, and not too far from me there were plots of land with fruits and vegetables, a big yellow barn and a bright green house built with my own hands. He settles back onto his stool with his elbows on the counter, placing both hands under his chin folded together. Irv and Jai and Zaria were there too, each of them taking care of something different on the land, and I was staring up at the sky, the clouds moving farther from me. All the surrounding trees grew higher and higher like they would never stop. It felt important. Baba, I don't think I'll ever be able to go back to that place or even ever feel like if I could go back to that school right now. That school is eating me alive. He sounds so alive when he laughs. First it sounds like a deep rumbling, then a desperate wheeze until it turns into a full-blown cackle coupled with coughs, in between which he gasps for air as he leans forward in his chair with one fist clenched, barely covering his gap-toothed mouth. Wow, I see what you just did there, he says, finally catching his breath. Your mama know about all of this? He asks, finally clearing his throat. Not yet, I tell him, trying to read his reaction. We really didn't talk on the way home. We know about yesterday, he says. The school called when you went upstairs. They won't let you go back right now anyway. Blue, we know what happened. Everyone knows what happened. The parents got a phone call from the school. The school told the parents the behavior was inappropriate, something that won't be tolerated, unacceptable. The school suggested 3 weeks of suspension and closed campus lunches when the child returns. These parents asked what will happen to the teacher for talking to their child like that, for treating their child like that, for escalating things. The school defended the teacher's responsibility to hold the child accountable to the standards. The school defended the teacher's right to give consequences where they are due. Out of control, trouble with authority, disrespectful are the words the school used when describing the child and why this has happened. Baba tells me all this because he wants me to know. Baba tells me this because in this house, there are no secrets, and we are all on the same side. My tears aren't a secret as I swing open the fridge door, search for the carton of eggs, crack 3 open into a large bowl to whisk with black pepper, pink salt. My tears aren't a secret as I chop red onion, a clove of garlic, shred Parmesan cheese. My tears aren't a secret, nor is that I cry when I'm angry, feel explosive toward every adult who doesn't understand me, or my friends, or what matters to us in our lives. My tears aren't a secret in front of Baba as I melt butter in the pan, let it brown a little, pour egg mix above the fire below, sprinkle in the veggies, the cheese, let it bubble, move it, watch it thicken. My tears aren't a secret to myself, but they come back so quick. The omelet I'd flip with ease on any other day turns scrambled. My tears aren't a secret, I convince myself. This is what happens when you're meant to become something else. Not going to school doesn't mean there isn't something else. All of us keep hustles to earn us the means to be independent. From our parents, from institutions, hustles we've had almost since freshman year when we realized we needed to get up out of here or at least do things different. Mine is essays, Zaria's is retail, Jai's is paintings, Herb's is candy. All of us, random errands for local barbershops and salons and elders, too old to brave the stairs at their apartments. My anarchist academic game is too strong not to capitalize on, no matter how much Mr. Schlaus has tried to make it seem like I don't know anything. No one in the senior class can string a sentence together better than Cerulli and Jean. No one can write these teacher-pleasing papers with more covert strategy than an MB smart enough to attract student clients with funds willing to pay the price to make sure that they receive a B or higher every time. The grades vary to dodge the teachers, pressed to flag this old school scheme. So when kids started asking me for help, I began helping a little bit more than usual. Something us queer kids know well, how to shapeshift into other people's voices. Here, under the disguise of reluctant tutor, banished to study hall detention for kids who couldn't seem to apply themselves. This is the recipe for writing essays on US history, like a kid who applies himself, as demonstrated by Mr. Schlaus, who is also assigned to teach US history because PS 5000 is understaffed. You will need at least 2 timestamps that span the past 400 years or so. A heavy pour of old white men's names who've been made into monuments. A handful of words like parliament, president, unprecedented, past. At least 5 paragraphs including an introduction proving you read a book you hate. 1 conclusion to restate the bullet points you found in a chapter of that same book you hate. One thesis statement with a claim that you're not sure about yet, but your teacher agrees with. At least 3 more claims to support your thesis about a system that includes justice for all and enemies of the state instead of structures creating enemies or situations where people just end up having to do what they gotta do. 1 therefore, 2 moreovers, 4 thuslies, at least 1 based on my findings. 500 to 750 words put together to validate and justify the English language as many nods to the fact that your teacher has done their job as they can. You can see the drama on Jai's face from down the hall, where they lean against their locker talking shit after the final bell, with Irv and Zaria whose backs are turned to me, until Jai gasps then screams at the outlaw, making an appearance inside the school building, even though everybody knows I'm suspended. They ain't really say I couldn't be here outside school hours, and I don't plan to be here for more than 5 minutes anyway. In about 4 smooth movements, I slap hands with her, scoop Jai off their feet into a hug, push a kiss into Zaria's neck. She winces, her face stone, at the sight of me. I unzip a girl's backpack, Keisha Caldwell, slip her folder with the essay she asked me to take care of, back inside it in passing. She grins, a silent thank you, and we head out before I'm noticed by any teachers with nothing but time.
Cover's coming. It's coming.
So our second presentation will be from Dr. Tony Keith Jr. He will be doing some readings as well. Dr. Keith, Dr. Tony Keith Jr. Sorry, I was noticing the anthem.
It's fine. Sorry. Tony's fine.
Okay. Is a Black gay spoken word artist, poet, hip hop educational leader, and writer who produces academic and community-based scholarship about the politics of Black language and the possibilities for Black intellectualism to disrupt white supremacy in American education. Yeah, Tony is a multi-year fellow and grant recipient of the DC Commissions on the Arts and Humanities from his hometown of Washington, D.C., where he lives with his husband, Harry Christian III. So here we go, Dr. Tony, come on up.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I usually don't sit, so I won't. I know I might when I read later. First, I just want to give a quick shout out to, again, Terry, thank you again for this wonderful opportunity. The short story is, you all, before the pandemic, I was contracted to do a wonderful thing here, and then, pandemic hit, and I just happened to email someone who was formerly in Terry's position and say, hey, a couple years ago, I was supposed to do a thing. And so it's so wonderful to be back and to have my dear friend Candice Iloh here. And for context, y'all, this book that I have coming out called How the Boogeyman Became a Poet, it is a young adult memoir written in verse. And I just want to say shout out to Candice because it wasn't until I read Candice's Everybody's Looking that I realized that I could publish books too. And so Candice, thank you for your work. All right, so tonight I got some poems and I'm gonna read from my book tonight. The book does not come out until February 6th, I think it is, 2024, and so I don't have a physical copy of it yet, but I got a little sample in my bag. But before I start, I want to share a poem. And this poem, the title of this poem is the last line of the poem in my memoir. And for context, How the Boogeyman Became a Poet, it is about me. I was a first-gen college student originally from DC. Made it to Morgan State University for my first year of college. Yay! I didn't stay here, but that's another story. But it's all about how I came out the closet in my first generation and how I became a first-generation college student. And it takes place between 1999 to 2000. So to give you context, it's 1 year in the teenage life of Tony Keith Jr. Also, another shout out, because I can't help but give shout outs because it's the hip hop in me, is there's 2 wonderful people here, John and Peter. I just want to say hi to y'all. That gentleman right there raising his hand was my very first supervisor, for 20 years ago. And was the first writer and editor that I ever knew, and has always sort of been in my corner. So John and Peter, thank y'all for being here. We fear what we love. Y'all, being awesome is a monster trapped inside of closets that watches us sleep, that steals our dreams in the dark, and when we awake, we forget how amazing we could be if we just turned the lights on. If we just pull the cover from over our eyes, place our feet on the ground, and boldly proclaim that we are not afraid of greatness. That no matter how many nights we shiver, scared of our own success, we will at some point get a full night's rest and we will rise with the sun. And like the sun, y'all, we will be bright and blinding and bold and hot and huge, and people will need us to survive the cold and the night. And we will awaken y'all as warriors of weary, as soldiers of failure, as griots of fate, armed with weapons of mass construction. We will build ourselves a fortress of power, protecting ourselves from hating to be loved, and our capacity to be godlike, and our right to be present, and our calling to be parents to offsprings of our victories, and ancestors to heartbreak and loneliness, and empty pockets, and grumbling bellies, and confusion, and altered reflections. And we will no longer hold our pillows too tight at night, wishing it were a warm body, or a healthy diagnosis, or that phone call you've been waiting on from daddy, or a note that says, yo, I love you, from the person you actually want to love you. And we will awaken with muscles upon our shoulders that are strong enough to hold the world up when people need us to hold the world up because they are tired of holding the world up. And we will awaken y'all with our voices in harmony and pitch that makes a whisper seem like a rocket ship, and a rocket ship sound like, yo, I miss you. And we will tiptoe down hallways, making footprints feel like earthquakes, and we will awaken all those sleeping, all those afraid to be brilliant, all of you afraid to be acknowledged for daring to be different, for those of you who run when you should stand, for those of you who hush when you should command, for those of you who need to realize that you can't hide in the light. Y'all, it sticks to you like brown does on my black skin, like sap from trees rooted inside of sweet soil. I need everybody in Reginald F Museum to see that you're stars. Literally, I see you in the sky, defying laws of space-time and gravity, because humans are not supposed to fly, but you glide like the first leaf in autumn. Your silhouette strut in daylight and they dance with the moon. You all are part of a collective, a critical mass of intellectuals, which means you are meant to be here by divine knowledge, which means you are meant to be here with a purpose. That's the poem. Which means that I am supposed to be here with a purpose. We are purposefully meant to be here. And do you all want to know why?
Why?
No, you all want to know why? Ah, there we go. So the sick can become a healer. The timid can become a leader. The weary can become a teacher. And the boogeyman, who used to be afraid of his brilliant black self, became a poet. Peace. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. The truth is, I wrote that poem before I even wrote this book. I wrote that poem. A dear friend of mine called me about several years ago. It was just negative talk on the phone. Told me I'm not having a good day at work. Life ain't good. My mom is getting on my nerves. It was just sort of like not some negative talk. And I remember getting off that phone, like, I got to write a poem for this person. And it wasn't until that poem was done I realized that poem was for me. A lot of the things that I write are for me, much like my book. And so what you all will learn about and how the Boogeyman became a poet is I was someone probably like Candice and others out here. I kept all of the poems I wrote as a kid. Every last one that I kept from my mama, my daddy, my grandma, all the ones I wrote in the middle of the night, when I couldn't sleep because I was thinking about a world where I would be comfortable and okay being gay. I was a gay little black boy from DC, and I didn't know any gay people. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew I felt very different than most people around me. And there was no language, y'all. There was no language. Gay wasn't it because gay is it now, but back then gay meant something so negative and so bad. Anyway, so I don't know where to start from this book, and I should say because it's not out yet, my husband printed it out of his job and put little tabs in it for me. And so I'm just going to choose a section out of here. Part of me feels like I want to start at the beginning just because that's just where I'm at right now. And I should also say, y'all are the first group of people to hear this. Besides my editor and my agent, my husband has heard a little bit. Anyway, so also a memoir written in verse. So each page is sort of structured like a poem. There's wordplay and rhyming and a lot of fun. And it's written for young adult audiences. So I'm just going to start from the beginning. I'm just going to let the ancestors let me know where to go. So Here we go. I'm so used to performing, I'm trying to read now. This is scary. Okay. I came out in the world like this, bright and burning, a brilliant little black star, weighing every bit of 7 pounds, 7 ounces, measuring 19.5 inches long. Cesarean cut right through Moss Center, smack dab in the middle of hot July on the 17th day in the year 1981. I was carefully carved from her flesh at a hospital at a military base in Freehold, New Jersey, where Pop was training to be an airman basic. Same way, same place, same space where my sister Tamu was born just 17 months before. My whole body arrived on fire, flaming from the warmth of my mother's womb. Medical records say I was an infant prone to ear infections that raised my internal temperature well beyond a boiling fever. I was 3 when I bubbled over 102.7 Fahrenheit, made me tug at my lobes a little too hard for mom's comfort. Doctors surgically put some tubes in there to help cool down the noise. They fell out a few months later while I was dancing circles around my shadow, wound up scarring some tissue on my eardrums. Now I'd be tripping on vertigo. It's like the world be spinning around if I climb far too high and try to look straight up toward the sky or stare down deep beneath the earth's belly. I was in 8th grade when the flames brought me scarlet fever. Spread these sensitive-ass red blood bumps all across my entire body, causing some pain to rise up in the middle of my chest. Emergency room doctors said Mom brought me in just a few minutes before the infection punctured its way into my 2nd layer of my beating heart. Legend has it, my being here was a close call too. Apparently, Mom, 23, pregnant, unplanned with me, drove a 4-door powder-grade Dodge Diplomat with tires that foolishly assumed the tread on their rubber wheels were deep enough to skate slick on smooth black ice during cold winter. Round rubber dummies didn't test themselves first, crashed. Me and Mom, us, we slide like concrete on lava water. That's not right. Me and Mom, we slide like lava on concrete water. Her belly becomes an inflated safety airbag, bracing all of my bouncing. We both survived unscathed, save for the 23 railroad stitches stretched across Mom's forehead. I remained submerged, baked golden brown birth by scalding summer. Mom always tells the story of our accident whenever she's explaining to other people why I am the way I am. Her baby, funny, curious, clever, smiling, singing, dancing, joyful, carefree, bright, showy, a ball of colorful energy, making life fun for us all. She'll say to them while looking at me, something must have happened to him because that boy ain't been right since. And then she'll chuckle with a sweet laugh that don't hurt. Unlike last year, when I turned 16, and Pop echoed Mom's tale with a gallon of sour sugar that still stings me in a place I don't yet have language for. For real, I'm far too afraid to discover what it might actually mean, because whenever I think about what my father actually said, the boogeyman creeps out from some dark corner of my bedroom closet and I can't get any sleep at night. Pop had just gotten out of rehab again. He called to wish me happy birthday. After confirming that I was indeed being a good boy by reading my Bible, I was not. And praying for my salvation every day, I was not. He goes, 1 Corinthians 2:9 says, eyes have not seen, nor ears have heard, nor has it entered the heart of man the things which God has prepared for you. I'm proud of you, son, but as a baby, you cried so daggone much, I thought you were going to grow up to be a sissy or something. As if something disguised what he actually said. As if there was probable cause for concern about my safety. As if I am not mirrored to his namesake. As if there was reason to question the capacity to survive an attack from a source of saline I tasted on tears dripping from the tip of my tiny toddler tongue. As if my center was too vulnerable, and so I had to curl up into myself for comfort. As if all my screaming and hollering triggered some insecurity he had about my density. As if there was a layer of flesh and spirit I left lingering inside Mom 15 summers ago. As if no tissue was attached to vein, blood, bone, muscle, fat, or skin, and therefore I was too soft and too sticky to withstand whatever hard stuff black men must make light of in order to feel strong enough to hold on to and hold up themselves. As if there was a trivial possibility of my power to protect my peace during times of war. As if I entered my physical existence with an unarmed and untrained military that was ill-equipped and unprepared to battle the beasts that prey on the bodies of little black boys who are unafraid to express how they really feel on the inside. And let my parents tell it, y'all, I came out curious before crying. A queer kid full of questions, complete with some kind of knowledge embedded inside the brain holding my big ass black head. I curse a lot in this, by the way. I had a curved ledge attached to the back of my skull that popped. A former jock would wrap his hands around the hole like a football, pretending to launch me into the air, and I'd swirl around the atmosphere, giggling at my father's gentle touch. Mom tried smoothing out my knowledge mountain with her soft hands, same one she used to grease Pop's hair as a teenager and twirl batons between her majorette fingers at their homecoming parades. She mushed and mashed what I came out knowing into more manageable size until my body grew into itself. My parents called the back of my head a puck. They really did. I have no idea why they chose this word, as there was never a time in our lives together when hockey was ever part of any discussion. As a kid, I only knew a puck to be some black round thing that skates smooth on slick ice. And that people on two sides of a thing with razor blade feet and long curved sticks love to beat around until the puck submits to being captured in a net disguised as a protected space for its safety. And this happens so much that it's only a matter of time before one side is crowned victor and the puck is exposed for all that it really is. A piece of black property destined to be locked up and stacked up inside of a cage in the dark with the rest of the pucks and all their knowledge until the next game time when they will again inspire some fight about them between two people on two sides of the thing who will be cloaked in armor and who will ignore how badly the puck's been beaten and how naked and cold it's been for centuries until some black, white, striped-skinned person with authority blows a whistle before the brawl begins. I'll move to that section. Y'all all right? Yes. So at this point of the story, that was the beginning. Shout out to first page 1 and 2. This part of the story I want to read now, though, is for me, it's the earliest memory I recall of when something happened and it was like gay, right? Like I don't know, like the universe was like gay. Okay, here we go. I was 13 when all this started. Oh Lord, here we go. All right. Darren was the 16-year-old nephew of another woman in Mall's Village, who came to our apartment one summer afternoon. Tamu, who's my older sister, by the way, Tamu and I were playing a few games of blind man's bluff with him, and Dallas, one of my friends from middle school who lived at our complex. Blind man's bluff is like hide and seek, but the person who is it must wear a blindfold and try to tag all of us in the darkness. Tamu is it. Darren, Dallas, and I go hide in my bedroom closet where the boogeyman lives. I'm squatting down to avoid detection, which also makes me eye level with Darren's waist. He is standing up straight and tall. I look up and see that he has black curly hairs covering his upper lip and around his chin. He's peeking through the cracks of the wooden closet blinds to see if Tamu was coming. Suddenly, I feel my body turn up to at least 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Must be a fever, I thought, because I had become flammable and started burning myself up from within. I try to keep calm and quiet while using my right palm to fan a light wind over my face, hoping to circulate some oxygen into my life before I dry up like a bundle of sticks wrapped together that could combust and ignite into flames at any second. I felt like I was always one breath away from sparking that cramped space into a furnace that set itself on fire. Darren doesn't see me watching the sweat beads sliding down his mahogany forehead and landing heavy inside the cotton fibers of his ripped white tank top, which is a tad bit torn around the nape across his left lip. Suddenly, Tamu flings the door open with her blindfold still twisted on tight, reaching her arms out to tag Dallas, who is hunched down on the other side of Darren. Suddenly, a funky odor releases in the air and flies first class one way into my nose. I inhale myself inside out. Zap! Everything about me becomes electric. Tamu screams out, "I got you!" while grabbing onto Darren's left leg. I see the boogeyman peeking out from a crack in the corner near Darren's knee, and I scream out, "Oh shit!" I pop up on my feet and dart past Tamu. Whatever that scent was turned the circuit on to power up my sexual system, and then I pray to you, God, that Darren doesn't try to tag me in the next round. I've been fascinated by that smell for as long as it's forever has been forever. So you see, God, you're the only one who knows about all of this. And it was just last Sunday when Pastor Jenkins was preaching about gay people through his biblical interpretations of Genesis 19, Judges 19, Leviticus 18, 22, 20, 13, 1 Corinthians 6, 9, 1 Timothy 1:10, and I don't want to burn in hell forever, especially for something I don't even know that I am. Close close up with a couple things. Thank y'all. Thank you. Yay! I'm reading from my book. Okay. So I'll fast forward because honestly, the last time I was in Baltimore performing a poem, seriously, was in like 1999, maybe 2000. This is a real thing. And like I mentioned, I went to Morgan State University. That was in 1999, and that's where this book sort of takes place. And so this is fall of 1999, and I am a first-year student at Morgan State University, living in an all-male residence. I'm also in this book. I'm gonna plug this. Also in this book, you'll learn that I had a girlfriend throughout high school, and well, mostly through high school and my first year of undergrad. We broke up in undergrad at Morgan State University, and she's a lesbian. It's such a great story. It's such a great, anyway, so that person is one of the main characters in this book by the name of Blue, and when you all see the book cover, Blue actually did my cover art. Like HarperCollins contracted to do my cover art. Anyway, so and Blue graduated from Morgan State as a fine artist, so it's super dope. So anyway, here we go. First year in Morgan State, in my residence all by myself. This is not even funny. I live in O'Connell Hall, an all-boys residence on South Campus, the opposite side of MSU where Blue stays in Block Towers, and where Cubby, who's one of my best friends, lives in Rawlings Hall. Truth is, I hated it. And I know that's a strong word, but this space has been nothing but a hamster wheel of misfortune and torture. First of all, it stinks. There are no air conditioning units, and so the late September heat is screaming all of its glory on top of and down through Herring Run Park, a tributary of Baltimore's Back River flowing directly in the back of OC. This building smells like whatever wildlife is swimming inside that water is specifically went there to die, because I know there is no other outlet for its flesh to decompose with any real dignity, other than the local piping hot sewage behind a building of collegiate black boys. Star, who's my stepmother, cleaned my room when she and Pop dropped me off. So the aroma in here is more like a bouquet of bleach and fresh flowers, and a slimy garbage dumpster full of wet trash are fighting for air supremacy. But neither of them can win, so they just huff and puff on pieces of while splitting their leftover feces directly into each other's faces. And that's exactly what this space is. A receptacle for odors to exist as ghosts that fly in and out of OC cement walls, complete with sandstone linoleum floors, wooden beds on platforms, with 6-inch navy blue sleeping pads pretending to be plush trim mattresses. Second of all, I'm still adjusting to living with my roommate, Boots. He arrived a few days after me, pulled up in a white Crown Victoria with tinted windows, 2 hubcaps with paper-thin treads on 3 of his tires, and a dent in the fender that barely lets his license plate dangle horizontally. He came carrying 2 duffel bags packed full of unfolded lumps of clothes, and that's it. That's it. That's how we had it. Boots has smooth almond skin, a bleached white straight smile, a yellow-orange ring around his brown eyes, a short dried-out twist that always is partially covered by a navy blue beanie rolled up around the edges. Most days, my roommate walks around barefoot inside of his gray fuzzy slippers, or he'll wear white suit socks with black flat open-toe leg slides. We're about the same height, but Boots carries his weight in his chest, the only area on his body that he wants to build up to appear bigger than his scrawny stick-figure legs can stand on. We get along well, but we don't spend much time together outside of our room, and I'm absolutely okay with that. He knows that Blue and I go together, but he don't know that I think that I'm gay, and that I plan to keep it that way. Third of all, I can't think straight. It's hard pretending that living amongst all these black boys is an easy feat, while my imagination is running wild half the time. When we arrived, I was shocked to see so many of them, we, busy lifting heavy bags and carrying bulky boxes across our thresholds of young manhood. We were all sweating a little heavy, and those of us that were still wearing shirts were using the bottom hem to wipe the salty water oozing from our shiny foreheads and in between our mahogany clavicles, briefly exposing our stomachs and happy trails and boxer short brands and belly buttons and belt buckles and flies unzipped. A few of my fellow OC mates were looking at me directly into my eyes as we wandered around the hallways meeting and greeting folks, living on different floors of our stacked residence. Some of them stared at me a little longer than some of the others. And I wondered if Kyle was right when he told me in the chat room that at some point a moment will come when I would have the answer to my question. Yeah. For the context, Kyle, there's a part of the story where, so I grew up against 80s, 90s, the birth of the internet, I guess, sort of, kind of, and I found my understanding of being gay in internet chat rooms. That was a real thing. That's sort of the safest place. And so this book is someone I meet in Baltimore who runs a housing facility for young Black gay queer boys, and that person's name is Kyle. At least that's what I call that person in this book. And so the last thing that I read for y'all is actually going to be a poem. So in this book, so the cool thing is because I found the poems, I photocopied them. And so when you read the book, if you ever read or seen Tupac's Rose That Grew from Concrete, the book, you'll see the text next to the handwritten poems. And so I know, yes, y'all get a chance to see like handwritten poems written by little poets on the key. And this is one of them. In this book, I am about to perform at an open mic event at the University of Maryland College Park. It goes like this. I'll set it up a little bit. It says, this is not the poem yet, but we'll do that. So I'm at open mic, and I've been called up to the stage. I say, I wrote my first poem in 3rd grade, and it was about changing seasons. Like many of you, I'm someone whose world is constantly changing. There's always some kind of shift occurring in my universe, and my father always says everything happens for a reason and a season. Well, here I am at 19 years old, as the first person in my family to attend college, and my journey to get here is one that I hope to tell in a book someday. I got some wild ass stories. I've been writing this poem for a little while now, and I'm gonna try to do the whole thing from memory. Y'all take it easy on me, cool? I say cool. Cool. My friend Wally yells out, all right, all right, all right. My friend Jay goes, let's go, Tone. My friend Tiffy goes, oh, you're gonna have your Darius Love Hall moment. I close my eyes, inhale, exhale, open them up, and from memory I go seasons. Walking atop the earth and ground and feeling the life and all that surrounds ain't really nothing new. I've recognized myself in the world as early as the age of 2, but what my little mind couldn't fathom, let alone understand, is that the land that I stand on and the air that I breathe wasn't created by man. Which means man cannot predict when ice and fire will free fall from the sky. Man cannot manipulate the seasons, and here's why. Seasons are spiritual entities, supernatural creations often confused with Mother Nature, and it was a man that created her. But I'm talking about those seasons when you're up too late, worrying about your father's fate, as you hear him regurgitate fluids consumed in bodily cancer. And then an answer you can't figure out on the test because it's the portion of the material you missed the day you buried your mother. And when your little brother looks up to you, begging and borrowing for money to eat lunch after school, and so you'll give him $1, and because you know he can't be a scholar while his funds are delinquent, and so that money you spend is the amount you can't save to buy yourself a car, because you got tired of catching the morning bus and hearing the morning fuss and cuss and gossip about you and everything that you do with such and such who, and you know who what, and now y'all having babies, and now you got HIV, and now you having twins, and the moments begin to sink instead of swim, and that is a season. And I've definitely been through mine, but I've learned in time that we all get set up for a comeback. And so you realize in that moment that your mother left you a check in her demise, and you can spot your little brother that $5 and pay the remaining balance on your tuition bill. And you figure that while your father is still ill, you can use his truck just to get to class. Plus it's an '88 blue Bronco, and you begin to think that both Bronco and blue begin with B and not C and D, and A was out anyway. And so the next time you take that test, you circle B and you get your best answer correct. And so the best part about your season now is that it's over. There's so many things meant for us to endure, but there is no man-made cure. It is only a season. Thank you so much. It's available for pre-order, and I think I'm done. I think we're way past time now. Thank you all so much. Have a good time. Please don't have to I read from my book.
So at this time, we are going to open up for a couple of minutes. We're going to bring all of our presenters up, if you don't mind. And just for a couple of minutes of some questions, and also open it up to the audience for any questions that you may have of our presenters. And then we will bid adieu for the evening. Thank you again for your patience.
What do you want to know? And as I drink my beer on stage, I hope that's okay. It's happening.
This is a Q&A. There's no moderation.
Yes, to the back.
You said your book was available for pre-order. When do I do that?
Hey! Yo, this is wildly exciting to share. I can't believe you can like Google it. This is real thing. So it's available Amazon, HarperCollins, Barnes & Noble, Epic Reads, Goodreads, Google, it's everywhere. I believe, fingers crossed, it's supposed to be like in Target, like it's everywhere. But right, it's everywhere. So yeah, but you can get it, if you just Google it, you'll find it on harperscollins.com. I would say go there, go to the publisher. But yeah, get it there. So excited about the book.
It is How the Boogeyman Became.
Please get it. What is that?
How the Boogeyman.
It's called How the Boogeyman Became a Poet. Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, any book that's like available for pre-order, you could just probably Google it, and there's like a whole list of places that you can get it from. And usually Amazon and Target are like great go-tos. Not Amazon, actually. Bookshop.
There we go. There we go. Or your local bookstores for sure. I know in DC, several local bookstores will have it on that. But please, y'all, Candice's book is available in October. Mine will be in January. We got time. We got time.
Candice, is your book available for pre-order as well?
Yes. So this, I think the cover, so this is what it looks like again. Salt the water, and yeah, if you Google it, I prefer people to go to bookshop.org because then you can order it from your local independent bookstore. But yeah, any book that is available for pre-order, if you Google it, then there's all these options that you could choose from.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go for it.
Yes.
How did you come up with the title of the book?
Salt the water?
Yes.
How did I? Well, one of the things I didn't say was that the father in the book is a chef, and so I use the theme of food throughout the entire book as a metaphor for preparation, and so it gets real deep, you know. One of my friends thought it was salt water versus fresh water thing, but really, I thought deeply about like when people tell you to salt the water when you're making pasta.
Yeah.
Essentially what you're doing is you're preparing the water to receive the pasta. And something that I'm like mulling over in Salt the Water is like how much preparation, if any, this country has done for the generations to come. And so the idea is salting the water is to prepare, like, what are we doing to make this space for the kids that are coming after us?
So much of that also is I would like to this film. There's people now making films. I just want to make sure because on this stage, you the filmmaker over here. Well, you told me you directed the films. You don't make the films,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But like you clearly are making films at a time when there are young people with language, with pronouns, with there's just and I'm just so curious. Like, what do you think that's making possible now with your films?
Oh, so much. Actually, I harped on when you talked about seasons, and you talked about air, and I thought about the character in that film. I mean, he wanted his body to not be, I have to claim land, but let it be like air, just being and existing. And I think we envision a world where now it's kind of forced and it's regimented that we have to say, call me by my name, call me by my pronoun.
Yeah.
But hopefully it will be just as free-flowing as air, the recognition of each other's humanity.
Love that. Yeah, clap it up for that. What else do y'all want to know?
I want to ask a question.
Sure.
So I feel like a theme that's been going on all night has been around compulsory heterosexuality and enforcing that heteronormativity on people. And I was recently reading an article about Black queer women's experiences on campuses, and I'm looking at you because you're just talking about college and how many people struggle with college because it only has single identity spaces. And so that requires people to negotiate their sexuality and come out again and again and again.
Yeah.
And for people of color, coming out tends to not be like this single monumental thing that happens with family and then everybody's good. And hopefully for people who are not identified as of color, it's that seamless.
Yeah.
But for us, we tend to need to do a lot of cultural code switching and passing.
Yes.
And so I wonder in your books and in things that you've produced, how have people negotiated that constant need to code switch in order to be safe?
Ooh, this is a good question. Anybody?
I have lots of thoughts.
I have lots of thoughts on this too. You go.
Okay, so two things. So the books they have here tonight are from Everybody Looking, not Salt the Water. And Everybody Looking, the main character, Ada, doesn't do a lot of code switching. It's like when she goes to college, she realizes like the language I've been using, the way I've been operating, the things that I believed were prescribed for me. And so she's starting to feel that tension you feel when you code switch, like realizing here I can be free, but when I go home, I'm gonna have to like omit some words or skip over some sentences or not tell my parents about certain things. But in Salt the Water, I really wanted to write a character like Cerulean who does not code switch, and that doesn't go over well in society. For you to be your authentic self in every space, at some point, like if you are anybody who does that, like at some point, someone is gonna call you unprofessional, or immature or irresponsible. And I don't think that this society really honors a person being themselves in every space. And so I really like, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I really like using my characters to play with this idea of how people react to people being themselves in different spaces. And it's usually not the person, it's the environment. So yeah, I hope I answered your question, but like.
I think you did by illustrating a world where people aren't passive, which I have not seen as an old millennial.
Yeah, I don't know what it looks like, but I think in my books, a lot of times I'm playing with the discomfort of it all, because and I'm also playing with it in my own life. I'm a person who really tries my best to be like this everywhere I am, and I am noticing just as an adult how challenging it is, so I could imagine as a teenager how stressful it can be to feel like you have to be different people in different spaces.
Yes, and I think at the core of it is it's disruptive. You existing there's a disruption there, and it can be exhausting as well, even if you're code switching or not code switching. And I think the beauty of what I hear in your piece is, and I've seen a lot in the films that have been in the festival, is you are creating a reality and you're implanting visions of what's possible. And through the art and through the artistry of filmmakers and authors, we're saying, okay, view the world through the lens of this character, this protagonist, and wrestle with what it looks like. And see how, we can navigate through it. So I think that's one thing I think what art has the power to do, to kind of give us snapshots of a world not yet realized, and kind of maybe hopefully give us a path forward.
That's interesting. Give us a path forward. How about that?
Yes.
In my book, I wrestled with this quite a bit. There's a whole section where I refer to something called the script, right? It's the idea, this is the way you're supposed to live your life. You do this, you follow this step, you marry this girl, you go to church, like that thing. And the ways in which how I had dreams about what would it be like if I actually met a guy in public, right? Like, what would that be like? And so for me, there's a part of the book when I talk about like, we meet up, on a park bench on a sunny day,